Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to Spirit Speakeasy. I'm Joy Giovanni, Joyful Medium. I'm a working psychic medium, energy healer, and spiritual gifts mentor. This podcast is like a seat at the table in a secret club, but with mediums, mystics, and the spiritual luminaries of our time. So come behind the velvet ropes with me and see inside my world as I chat insider style with profoundly gifted souls. We go deep, share juicy stories, laugh a lot, and it wouldn't be a speakeasy without great insider secrets and tips. You might even learn that you have some gifts of your own. So step inside the Spirit Speakeasy. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Spirit Speakeasy. You really want to have a pen and paper for today's episode. If you're driving or working out, you can always come back to it. But today we have our esteemed and wonderful astrologer friend, Sheetal Story. If you haven't listened to any of her episodes before, she was with us previously on episode 15 from March of 2023, where she gave us the 2023 Astrology Predictions and talked about mastering manifestation. And again on episode 28, which is from June of 2023, called Astrology Energy Report, June through December with Sheetal Story. So she today is going to give us the astrology and essentially a big heads up and tips and guidance for the first 6 months of 2024. So we can know what is coming based on the astrology, some themes. She even gives us an amazing journaling tool at the end. And don't worry, she tells you exactly why you need it. So I don't want to take up too much time in this intro because this episode is so juicy with so much information and really just addressing the themes and energy, potentials, possibilities, what those might look like, and what to expect in the astrology of 2024 for the first half. So without further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with my beautiful friend and colleague, Sheetal Story. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. We have a returning guest, one of our favorite alumni guests, Sheetal Story. I'm going to just read her quick bio, but many of you know her from her previous appearances. Sheetal Story is a psychic medium, a professional certified astrologer, a grief support counselor, and a law of attraction master coach. Sheetal's mission is to help heart-centered people cultivate and strengthen their intuition, to trust and use it every day so they can live their most aligned and soul-led, purposeful life. Intuition is the compass of the soul, and she teaches that your soul always knows the way. The more you learn to trust your intuition and flow with the energy that life presents, the more life will open up the most magical opportunities for growth and abundance. Welcome back, Sheetal.
Thank you for having me back. This was so much fun the first time when you're like, let's talk about the astrology for 2024. I was like, oh, yes.
And I feel like this time I'm getting you a little earlier, which is great. So we can have this live in December. So those of us that are looking forward to 2024, or at least trying to get a little bit of a heads up on the energy coming in the new year, we can be ready.
Yes, and it is very different year, ahead that we're going to be stepping into. And as we sort of look to the future, we to understand 2024, we got to look to understand 2025. So okay. Yeah, I'm excited to dive in when you're ready.
I'm totally ready. I got my pen. Take
you
notes.
Really do.
I'm very excited.
That's funny.
And I love this kind of preview that you do with us by like these 6-month chunks. It's just been so helpful. We've gotten so much feedback from everyone who's listened. People go back and listen. And actually, I love to go back, when we're a few months in to say like, okay, let's see how some of these things have manifested. Let's see, what's coming in this next little chunk. So I'm really grateful and excited for this.
Well, and I love that you said that. Like, I think why I love astrology so much is that it helps us understand ourselves in a deeper way, and then also understand the energy and the potentials that are flooding onto the planet. And so it's all about potentials, right? It's how you use the energy. And so, where we're going to dive into today, I'm going to really illuminate potentials for people and knowing that this energy can come in for its highest and best or for its shadow, right? And if it's shadow, then it's helping us to evolve by helping us understand where is our shadowy parts, what are we holding on to that feels doom and gloom and sadness, and how can we then bring light to that to bring it into an opportunity versus sitting in the poop, you know?
Well,
So yeah.
exactly. Yeah, just illuminating. I mean, because sometimes when we're feeling, everyone knows I hate this word, but stuck, or we're just the energy's not moving forward, sometimes it is, to your point, something that needs to be illuminated, because it's like, hey, if you don't deal with this festering thing, you can't reap the bounty that's available to you in the same way. So it's all helpful. And I love that you highlight those parts too.
I love it. And because it is, astrology is like the weather, right? I mean, I do a
Yeah.
weekly astro forecast, and it's really about the energy that's becoming available to the planet and how we use it. You know, whether you decide to wear a rain jacket or just go out and go, screw it, I'm just going to be in the rain, and you get wet and you're like, oh, why is this happening to me? And I think this is a great opportunity as well to understand the energy that's affecting the collective. So if you're in a workplace where everybody's in this bad mood or nothing's happening or technology is failing, you can just go, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. Oh, Mars is
Yeah.
retrograde right now. Oh, this is why it is. And people might not understand the language that you're using, because astrology is its own kind of language, its own culture and community. But understanding it gives you a bigger perspective, I find, than the common person that may not believe in astrology. I mean, just like gravity, it's there
Yeah.
whether you believe in it or not. So if you can navigate it and understand this is why this is happening and how long it might last, you'll then have hope. You then have opportunities to go, okay, this is time, like for Mercury retrograde, it's not a time to move ahead. It's a time to reassess, review, to revise. And so, we're going to go into a Mercury retrograde at the end of this year. I am already ready. I already know the projects I want to do during that time because I know the energy is going to be presenting for that. And so that is on the books for that period of time. Will it go according to plan? Maybe, but you know what? I know that I need to flow in that period of my life, especially that period of my life, because a Mercury retrograde is coming up at the end of the year. So even as an entrepreneur, I'm not going to be in big launches at the end of the year because people aren't going to be interested in buying big things. They're going to be going within, they're going to be reassessing their budgets and how they're moving through the world and how are they structuring their lives. That is what the energy is presenting. And we just watch and you'll see that it will start to unfold. And people are going to say, my launches didn't go well at Christmas. I'm like, oh, I guess you didn't follow the astrology.
Yeah.
Great. How did that go for you? It's an experiment. Everything is an experiment. And for the listeners out there as well, this is an experiment for you. How does this work in your life? And then you start to track these energies and go, oh my gosh, I'm really affected by the new moon. I'm really affected by Mercury retrograde. And start to then practice that flowing with those energies so that you can have the best life possible, knowing that everything is happening for you, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I do just want to mention, I'm going to list all of your social media points in the show notes, because if you out there are not listening to Sheetal's weekly astro weather reports, what are you doing with your week? They're so thorough but easy to understand. So if you are not receiving those or checking those out yet, make sure you check the show notes to get all of those links.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. For me, what has been I think one of my purpose, my own life purpose, is to make this information so simple and usable for everyone. So, the
Yeah.
decoders, if you will, and I know you're a decoder in your own right, with understanding how spirit works and helping, the people around you and life purpose and meanings and all the things that we maybe don't see when we're in the thick of it, when we're at the ground level. But when we start to kind of raise our perspective to spirit, to, astrology, to the cosmos, we start to see different meanings and opportunities. And, oh, this is why this is happening. And this is leading us to this part of our lives. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that everyone can see that and feel that and know that you can surf these energies too and not be kind of bogged down by them.
Exactly. I think you and I are always on the same page about using these things to uplift ourselves, to give us a heads up for planning, like you said, but never as some sort of like albatross or like a weight that's going to weigh us down in fear. It's not to look at things from a fear-based perspective, but from a perspective of, like you said, the weather report of like, okay, what do I need to have a heads up about that might come my way, this week or
Yes.
this cycle or whatever time period.
I love it. Yes. Shall we get into it? There's lots to
Yes,
talk about.
please. Let's
Yes.
do it.
Okay. So as a kind of a big overview, the themes for 2024 is we are in a corridor of time that's birthing a whole new era, which is coming about in 2025. So in order to be in that corridor, I kind of got this image this morning when I'm like, okay, help me, Spirit, use the right words to convey to everyone what 2024 is about. And, in numerology, 2024 is an 8 year. I'm not a
Yeah.
numerologist, but I looked up the numerology because I do love numbers.
I'll
And
be
I
doing an
do,
episode about that in December
yes,
too. I
I
do the
love
year
that.
every year.
Yes,
So
I
yes,
love
8 year.
and the 8 years signifies a period of contrasts and strengths and infinite possibilities. It's a cosmic battle of rights and a quest for balancing justice, harmony, and personal ideals amidst dilemmas concerning material values and versus life's realities. So there is this corridor of time that we are kind of traversing now for 2024. It is breaking up all the remnants of the old, which is Capricorn, right? Pluto is going to make its last transition through Capricorn, into Aquarius, back into Capricorn. And then finally in November 2024, will stay in Aquarius now until I think it was 2040 something or other. I have that date written down, but that will be for the last half of the year. So we won't talk about that just now. But that breaking up of that old paradigm and the shifts, that means at the micro level, we need to move through the things that are holding us in this old paradigm as well. So, as a dear colleague of mine said, the structures are going to fall and the structures within us must fall as well. So, where have we been kind of, I'm going to say, committing to this is the way we have to do it. These are the beliefs we've picked up from our ancestors, from our parents, that this is the way it's got to be. Like who says that we don't have to do that way anymore. So there's going to be a lot of that breaking up of the old in the first half of 2024. And of course that can be, as easy or as hard as you want to make it, because I love the Buddhist saying is suffering, the root of all suffering is attachment. So what are you attaching to? Because everything is going to start to shift that attachment to see it in new ways or to take it away. So really you get to sort of see what are you attaching to. And so, a really great way for the listener to kind of put this into context for themselves is what is the big dream that you've had? What is this big hope that you have for maybe yourself and for humanity? And then what's the story you're telling that's holding you from that vision? What's the story that you've committed to saying like this is not possible in my lifetime. This is not possible for me. People like me don't, right?
Yeah.
Those are such important words. Like one of the things I was talking to one of my clients and I said, I want you to use the words, I am somebody who, right? I'm the type of person who goes to the gym. I'm the type of person who never breaks commitments. I'm the type of person who shows up on time, right? And it's interesting when you start to claim those identity pieces, you start to shift that. So there's going to be a lot of that coming up in 2024 as we're kind of breaking through this corridor to get to 2025, because what's happening in 2025 is massive. We have all the outer planets. So that's Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are all changing signs.
All at once.
One of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and Jupiter is going to be moving into Gemini at the beginning of our year. So this year, 2024. So 2025 is literally this paradigm of new energy that's coming onto this planet that we have not experienced in this combination in centuries.
Wow.
Right, millennia, I would say, because Pluto doesn't move into new signs. It takes every 250 some years to get into new signs. So this combination of planetary energy has not been seen for thousands of years. And so we are now kind of going into this, kind of to 2025. And this 2025 energy is fire and air. So fire is that starting of new things, boldness, leadership, coming together, but it can also be war.
Revolution.
Right?
Yeah.
Revolution. Yeah, exactly. And that fire needs an outlet. So if it doesn't have an outlet of creativity and expansion and possibilities, then what we see is it's then directed to fighting the person who's not giving us those opportunities, possibilities, and ability to be creative. So that fire energy of Aries is coming in big time. And then we also have the air energy of Gemini, which is about communication, intellect, thought processing, and then Aquarius with Pluto, which is that evolution of humanity. So
Yeah,
we
new
can
vision for the future, right?
Yes, yes, and technology and,
Yeah.
humanity and coming together to elevate the planet. Aquarius is about all of us moving into, the next level, and all of us having wealth and all of us having possibilities. Like, you know, I think we're going to see a lot of things about like minimum wage moving up and a living income that everyone is entitled to. And we're
Yeah.
starting to see, there's places in the world where capitalism is so paramount that the people who hold money don't want to give up that money so that everyone can have some money. So we're going to see a
Yeah.
real revolution. And I think we're already seeing it, AI moving into the hands of people who might not normally have availability to it or use it. It's becoming so much more widespread, especially now with ChatGPT, that we
Yeah.
can all use that technology. And how is that going to help us all? But we need, laws and things like that to keep us all safe, because then, AI, we just saw that with the actors strike. What's to stop AI
Right.
from taking over jobs of people and that creative humanity still being there? That's the Aquarian. So we're really seeing that shift is going to really start to become evident towards the end of 2024.
Okay.
And
What's
then
so interesting, sorry to cut you off,
go ahead.
from our last conversation, one of the things that I have really hung on to is that South Node in Libra creating kind of what you've just been talking about, this falling away of old structures and past belief systems and, moving towards the new way. So I love how the astrology kind of, it's not a cut and dry, okay, on this date, everything immediately. It's like a building and shifting. And so it
Yes.
sounds like a maybe like an expanded continuation of some of what's already been rolling out. Is that how you see it?
Exactly true, because humans need time to evolve, right? You can't just drop a
That's the
big
truth.
change and then everything's good, right? That's how we have mental breakdowns. And so, 2024 is going to be this sort of ease in. Like, so we're starting off 2024 with a Mercury retrograde. Actually, Mercury goes direct on January 1st, which is
Wow.
really interesting. So I always feel like when we start off the year with a certain energy, that energy it's like an intention that's set, right? That kind of permeates the rest of the year. So there's a rethinking, of the way that we are, because it'll be retrograde in Sagittarius at that point. So Sagittarius is about higher mind, philosophy, the law, what's fair. We're thinking about how we can elevate consciousness with ideas and intellect, right? And then
Yeah.
also cross-cultural pursuits, learning about people at their depths, not just like just top level information. That's Gemini. This is about depth. Why do things do what they do? And Sagittarius is also big picture thinking, manifestation, looking to the future, optimism. So there's an adventure that's coming here for us in 2024. And we're rethinking, what is our passion? What is our drive? What is really motivating us? Those fire signs. And so it's
Wow.
interesting because Mercury retrogrades all for next year are going to start off in earth signs and end in fire signs. And so
Oh,
that,
that's so interesting.
isn't it so interesting? Because Earth is about practicality, grounding,
Yeah,
methodical,
Capricorn, right?
logical ways of doing things. Yeah. All the Earth signs are about that kind of grounded, logical way of doing things. It's methodical. It's going to stand the test of time. And then when we move to fire, fire is about what passion, what drives us, what's the bold adventure within us wanting to create, right? So that movement is like, okay, what do you want to create? But what's the passion and the drive that needs to then create it? So
Yeah.
it's really, I think we're going to find a lot of people leaving jobs, in 2024, or moving into jobs that are more aligned with their heart, and, better said, in a sort of grounded way that brings people safety. And then I feel like we're also, because of that Libra energy, the nodes are kind of finishing up their traversing Sagittarius, sorry, the word I'm looking for is Aries and Libra. So Aries and Libra, they're going to finish up and they're going to move into Virgo, Pisces in 2025.
Oh,
So
interesting.
again, there's another cycle, finishing up. So we need that, Aries, the North Node is about us really stepping into our leadership and our boldness and our passion and creativity. And then the Libra is the relationships, the intellect, what have we been kind of aligning to in our relationships of the past that are no longer serving us, that we are now relegating to a wonderful life lesson that we're no longer wanting to continue to commit to. That makes sense.
It's interesting too, because it sounds like what you're saying is one of the themes, especially how you mentioned that kickoff with Mercury in retrograde. And for me, I always just think of retrogrades as everything with reevaluate,
That's right.
reassess, rethink. And so are you saying that as people are getting this inspiration, this new passion to follow their dreams in a different way or something that's more in alignment with them, like you said, is it the guidance to like take a pause and kind of reassess, reevaluate all the elements so you can move forward in a more grounded way than just taking that leap
I love that you said it
out
that
of
way. Yes,
nowhere?
that's perfect. And I never advocate for leaps myself because
Me
I'm all
too.
about safety. I'm a trauma informed grief counselor. And so we want safety first. And I'm going to tell you right now, your brain will not take a leap if it doesn't feel safe about what's on the other side. Right. So I
Yeah.
think we sort of talked about self sabotage. There's no such thing as sabotage. Your body and your brain loves you so much. So what it's actually committing to is safety mechanisms that will not allow you to move forward. So yeah, no big leaps. And in a corridor year like 2024, it's more about careful, methodical thinking, but it must be driven from your purpose, from your passion, from your heart, because there's something that's been sitting there. And I think we saw this before COVID, because COVID really kicked off a major conjunction that kind of created all of this. And in that COVID sense, what I heard from so many people is we were asleep. You're just kind of
Mm,
committed to this life of going to work, coming home, getting food on the table, doing all again, overworking, no vacations. And COVID kind of stopped everyone and said, you have time now. What do you want to do with this time?
yeah.
And and some people went into, of course, with jobs ending and, governments were trying to fill in, money gaps and things like that. And so there was some people that were, fell into the scarcity of, oh my God, I don't have money to pay my rent. What's going to happen? Food. But there was always a way, right? There was government subsidies. There was food banks. There was lots of ways that people were being supported. And then the rest, as you kind of come out of that kind of, that red, the base chakra, or the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we started to kind of go, what now for me? What can I do with
Yeah.
this time? And I think it was so interesting. I noticed my husband, he was like, I would be so content to be a stay-at-home dad. He was cooking everybody's meals. My husband's a chef, cooking all the meals and doing all the things for the family. And he was so happy. And I haven't seen him that happy in a long time. And then everybody had to go back to work, and he was just like, oh. And it wasn't that he didn't love his job at the time, but he just got the opportunity to see a different way of doing things. And I think
Yeah.
that's 2024 is a different way of doing things and seeing that there's possibilities here for people. I think what we're also going to see as Jupiter moves into Gemini, which is happening on May 25th, is that Jupiter spends about a year in each sign, right? So it takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. So each year it's sort of bringing an opportunity. Jupiter is about expansion, optimism, good luck, harmony, looking to see ways that we can expand on these concepts. And going into Gemini is about communication, community. It's also a bit of technology, but it's more about the basics of the technology of it. But that communication piece is so big. So ideas, inspiration, also intellect is Gemini. So when we're starting to see this Jupiter move into Gemini, I think we're going to start to see lots more ideas about like being a digital nomad. You can
Mm,
take your computer and work from anywhere. I mean, you and I can work from anywhere,
yeah.
really. And I think that's like the beauty of, I love what I do. I mean, I can work from the kitchen counter. I can work from Barbados if I wanted. Like, really, it's that ability to then travel and go wherever you want. Jupiter is also in Gemini is short distance travel. So travel
Okay.
within kind of communities or within kind of states in the US here, provinces in Canada, or maybe like interstate or like to the next state over, but not like international travel.
Hmm.
So there can be, I think there's going to be a lot of like conferences and ways to learn about technology, AI,
Yeah.
communication in a different way. And I think we're also going to see technological advances too, with new like Zooms and new software. I feels like there's always a new software coming out that someone's talking about. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I
I'm
can't.
I'm so wondering, as you're talking about this, with the technology piece and being digital nomads, which I think is wonderful that we're learning to break away from those old rules of what schedule has to look like. And with this theme of community coming in, I just keep feeling like there is going to be a better marriage of technology and community, because I feel like kind of what you were saying, since 2020 and everything that went down, so many people have just kind of still isolated and are not as much in community, and I think that's so vital going forward. Does that make sense?
I think you're so right. And there's also been a technological community that's emerged. And I really noticed it with my teenagers because they were on the PS or their Xbox, and they had these communities online that they actually got to know each other with. Like, I
Yeah.
know even over COVID, I was heavy on social media and Zoom and supporting my community through everything that was happening. And we got to know each other. There were people that I was like, really close friends with, that when I eventually got to meet up, some I haven't met yet, but some I have met, and it was like we've known each other for years, right? So I
Yeah.
think there's also this breakthrough or maybe breakdown of what community is, because it
Yeah.
doesn't, not necessarily, and I think with the way some of the ways that the world is going to evolve, it might not be possible for people to travel, but we can still have these really very real connections with people. And I see it with my youngest, who's on Discord, and he's supporting people through mental wellness and through
Wow.
challenges that they're having. And they're so close to them. They don't see it as, oh, I haven't met this person. They're my friend, mom. They're my friend.
Yeah.
And I just love that, because I think we're seeing that with the younger generation, where there's no more these boundaries of friendship being, I need to see you in person, and only if you're a real person to me do you get to be in my inner heart, right? They
Yeah.
don't have that. And I think, I'm seeing with my mom, who's, in her 70s, where she's like, oh, this technology, it's all bad, and I'm just like, it's not bad. It's actually created so much safety in that community. It saves lives because they've had these great connections. So I think,
Yeah.
the other thing I was going to say with Jupiter and Gemini, with all this air coming out in 2025 as well, is I think we're going to see a new social media platform emerge that's going to be so much more sort of authentic, and to have more connections and more privacy, but not all the spam and the kind of the algorithm. Like, it's for the people, by the people. It feels like a co-op kind of thing that we're going to come together with. It's going to combine, the social groups that Facebook has, the pictures that we have in Instagram, and then maybe the cool videos that we see from TikTok. Like, it feels like something's going to come together that feels totally intuitive, as well as looking at the astrology. I feel like something's going to come together that's going to create this new platform where it's not about the algorithm. It's not about, whose posts you're seeing all the time. Like, it's really about community, which is the
Yeah.
important piece. So yeah, I
I
can't wait
think
for that.
that's great. Yeah, that'll be so
Mhm.
exciting. And it sounds like it'll also be about kind of adding value to that, to your communities, and everyone bringing something to the table. So that's a really exciting. Mark that down, guys. That's
Yeah,
a
I love that. That's a prediction. Full on
Sheetal told us
prediction.
first.
Full on prediction. Then the next major aspect, so we're starting off with 2024. The next major aspect that's got my eye is on February 19th. We have the North Node conjunct Chiron. So what that means is the North Node, which is our karmic destiny as a collective in Aries, about this bold, pioneering, courageous, evolutionary spirit, is coming to sit with Chiron, the wounded healer, which is a place in our chart, wherever you have Chiron, is always going to be a bit of a wound. It's always going to be this kind of scrape that you are learning with and learning against, but helping you to evolve as well. And so wherever Chiron sits in your chart, you're going to evolve to see it in a new way. I often hear this from my clients: I thought I was done this. I thought I
Oh
was
yeah.
over this, Sheetal. And I'm like, no, you're not over anything. You're human, right? You're integrating at higher and higher levels. So you just see it now from a different perspective with new tools in your toolkit. So it's not that
Yeah.
you're, going through it again. You're just seeing this now in a new evolutionary path. So an example of this is, so my Chiron, I'm going to share a kind of a vulnerable story, is in Taurus, which is about money and values. And it's in my fifth house of things that I love and value, self-expression, creativity, romance. And for me, calling in appropriate, I'm going to say appropriate sums of money for what I offer has been an evolutionary path for me to sort of see, and I'm sure you know
Yeah.
what this is, right? When I
I
first
think
put
it's
out
all
my science.
healers
Yeah,
have
all
this.
healers. It's so true. But I think even as like when I look back to my corporate career, I was doing like amazing work for peanuts,
Yeah,
and the company was okay paying that. Of course they were okay paying that, but
of
I
course.
didn't know
Yeah.
any better. And I just thought, oh, I'm starting off this way, so I have to, this is my paying my dues. And it was so interesting. Like every time I come to a new level of, offers or clients that are willing to, really, pay me the what I value my gifts at, and then also allowing people who don't have that money to also come into the community in ways that feels aligned to them and me. So
Yeah.
that kind of values, currency, money, all of that, as I evolve, I see it in different ways, and I will do it through my entire life. Right. And so instead of fighting that, and I saw one of my clients this last week, actually, she's like, oh, I just feel like I've done this already. I said, what if you just accepted that this was a wound that you're going to be healing throughout your life, and you're going to find amazing epiphanies around it because of it? Right. If you
Wow.
didn't have this, I wouldn't know the value of things. I wouldn't understand how amazing it is when, I call in a new level of client that's like, yeah, oh yeah, I'll definitely pay that. I'm like, oh my God, somebody would pay me that. And it just feels so cool to understand your value sometimes from the lens of how others see you as well. So that's something for me in this lifetime is going to be a big, growth piece, but it's
Yeah.
okay. I've accepted it. I love it. And I love my Chiron now, whereas before I really hated it. So
Well, it sounds like what you're saying is this is, I mean, maybe not introduction's maybe not the right word, but the introduction of the theme in February of questioning your story. Like you were talking about, what's the story, the limiting belief I'm telling myself or have committed to in the past. So I guess wherever one's Chiron is placed, make sure you check that out for the theme that you're growing through,
that's right.
starting, well, not maybe starting in February, but especially
No.
highlighted in February. Is that correct?
No, because that one is their Chiron in their chart will be something that they will live with for their entire life. But the
Okay.
Chiron here, in the Chiron coming together with the North Node, it is going to highlight for everyone in terms of where is their bold vision, where are they not being courageous in stepping into the healing of their Chiron or understanding their values, or this is in Aries. So this is about their bold, pioneering vision for themselves. What is it that they want to adventure, want to experience that they haven't been, or saying it's not for me, or maybe when I'm older, a bucket list, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, nothing is guaranteed, as you know, as a medium, right?
Yeah.
You might not make it, so instead of, not to say I don't want to, worry anyone who's listening to this, that's not a channeled message, but it is kind of just a little invitation to step into some of your bucket list items now, as opposed to waiting till, when
Yeah.
whatever, when I have money, when I'm older, when I have more security. What would it take now to put security and safety around some of those one day goals now? Right? That's what this is going to bring up. It's also going to bring up this ability for us to like heal, and like who has the authority in your healing, because Aries is about
Mm,
authority as well, right? Who has the authority in your healing? Who says you're well? Who says you have to do all these things? And of course, we always want to listen to the medical system and do what's right for you, according to also the doctors and your wellness
yeah.
team. But what I'll say is this is going to be, I feel like, a merger between Eastern and Western medicine, because it's not just the body. We also have to look at mind and spirit and what has
Yeah.
caused these things. When you ask your doctor what caused this, they have no idea. They
Oh
really
my
have
gosh.
no
Don't let me
idea.
get on my soapbox about this,
Yeah,
girl.
yeah. But I feel like
Like,
because the healing
yes, we
is
need
going
a
to come
blend.
in. Yes, we need a blend. And I think this wounded healer coming up here, I think there's going to be new technology, new ways of healing coming to the surface. And I think we've really been seeing as well, like this bold pioneering vision of healing is to understand that emotions are held in the body. So we
Yeah.
need a holistic approach to healing. And it's coming, doctors are becoming more aware of it, but they're still not teaching it in med school. Right. And
Yeah.
so, I love that the pioneers of like Peter Levine and Gabor Mate, they're really kind of leading this way of like mind, body. We need to, and then spirit as well is in there too.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
love
there's,
Gabor Mate. The way he
I know,
says
me
things
too.
is so like Yeah, of course. Like so casual and so like,
Yes.
well, duh. Like
Yeah, and he's such an
he's so
articulate
great.
speaker, and he really has that gift of kind of, making this big psychological jargon down into something we can all like distill it into ways that we can hear it and go,
Yeah.
"Oh, that makes sense to me."
And
Because
it
so many
resonates
people.
so deeply as like true because it's
Yes,
true.
yes, it is
So
true. But I think when you talk to people like, "Oh, I had a great childhood." Like you ask me, "I had a great childhood." And then we start to dig into some of the ways and why I do what I do. I was like, "Oh my God. Yeah, that came from my parents. Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
what." And we just internalize these beliefs. So this February 19th, around that date, but this is, I say February 19th, but Chiron and the North Node move extremely slow. So this is going to be in effect for most of the first half of the year. So
Okay.
it's
So
a
you're
theme.
carrying this down this corridor with
That's
you. It's
right.
not
This
going
is
to
the
be
corridor. But this
it's
is
not
part
going
of
to
the
be quick.
corridor, right?
Yeah.
This is part of that breaking up of the healing of, who says you have to carry this? Who says you can't be the
Yeah.
leader? Who says you can't be? Who's the authority in your life? Where are you abdicating authority, Aries, right? Because you came here to be a leader in something. But when you think I don't have, this can also bring up imposter syndrome for those healers that are like, I don't know, I can't put out I've done all the courses, I have so many certifications, but I need another certificate. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm calling you out if you're listening to this and this is you. February 19th is going to call you out and it's going to say, listen, I mean, it's not just February 19th because it's going to apply and then it's going to kind of stay there for a while. So, you know, I say February 19th because that's when it's exact, but it's going to be in play for the first half of the year.
So either internally or the universe itself is going to be questioning us about this theme, which is exciting. We won't be
I,
able to really wiggle away from it too much,
Right. I
sounds
think it's
like.
going to really highlight where you're needed, and we can no longer wait for you to be ready. Like it's now. Now's the time to be ready.
Yeah.
Like be ready now. Let's go. One step in front of the other. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It doesn't know what the path is. It doesn't know how it's all going to unfold. It's following its bold vision and it's letting that heart-led energies, lead the way. And I always say the universe will open up its next step. So my experiment with the universe, or I'm going to say my contract with the universe, is that I will take the step if you show me, but you must illuminate the next step for me. Otherwise, I will stay here. And this path must be very, like, it must illuminate. And I have to be so courageous to take the step, even
Yeah.
though I don't know where it's going to go. And as a Virgo, I need to know. I need to know the
Yeah.
things. I want control. And there's no control, with the universe. Control is a fallacy. So can we trust that the next step is going to be illuminated, but with safety, right? I had
Yeah.
money in my bank account when I became a full-time entrepreneur, but the universe handed me that opportunity with the severance check. And I was like, okay, in the exact amount that I had asked for. I'm like,
Wow.
please give me $10,000 as seed money to move forward in my life, whatever that looks like. And then COVID hit. I got let go from my job. They gave me a very generous $10,000 payout in that around that area. That includes also the serve money and things like that too, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh my God, I just manifested this. Did I manifest it, or did the universe say, here, it's time, let's go, jump? It's
Yeah.
no longer,
Wow.
you can't leave it that we haven't supported you. We're
Well,
supporting
and you
you.
make such an important point because this is the way I see it too, very similar to what you said. Like I might get one or two next steps, but I'm not going to see 10 steps ahead. That vision is just not going to be there. So it's that trusting what we know in our soul to be our, I don't know, calling or to be our passion that we want to pursue. And then having just a little bit highlighted, but taking that trust fall or trust leap to move forward in safety, like you said. But
Yes.
even though we can't see the entire path illuminated, we might only see one or two steps.
And I'll say, like, from a business perspective, because that's my other real love is business and women in business, because women in business change this world. And so, you have a spirit of your business and the universe. Like, you are co creating your business with the universe. If you think about it, your business or your talent is the intermediary between spirit and you. So
Yeah.
it's the way that you are presenting your mission, and spirit is able to kind of present on this planet through you. And so why would they want you to fail? Like, why
Yeah.
would they then not help you? And so one of the things I think I've been really highlighting this year, and this is going to come back to Chiron as well, is that 80% of entrepreneurs fail because they don't do the inner work. You can only
Mm,
rise to a certain level, and then you start to see these patterns of you can't call in more people and you're not getting client. Why? Because there's something within you that's really scared of the next level. And as soon
Yeah.
as you move that out of the way, boom, everything starts to open up. So, yes, Chiron is bringing some wonderful lessons for all of us. And
Okay, so put on your big kid pants and get ready
yeah,
for the
and ready
universal
to
call outs here.
introspect. Yeah, and ready to
Yeah.
introspect and calling your healing tools and
Yeah.
coaches and group counseling and care and group coaching is so wonderful because they can just reflect back to you these parts that are hard to see, or they're just
Yeah.
programming now in your subconscious that you've accepted as truth. There's that Mercury coming back again, and it's not true, but it's hard to see when it's so subconsciously ingrained, right?
Well, and you bring
So
up such a good point that sometimes we're conditioned, and one of those beliefs we may be letting go of is, oh, I have to figure this out all on my own, versus, oh no, I can join this group or I can get some support from this counselor or coach or whatever it might be. You don't have to, you have permission to not have to do it all by yourself.
yes, I love that you said that because Aries, the South Node is in Libra, which is about healing that having to do it by myself. We don't have to do it by yourself. That's the
Yeah.
balance of Aries Libra is that, yes, I have this bold pioneering vision and I can call in support. I can be in partnerships. I can be in collaborations, exactly
Yeah.
like this, having me on your podcast, where I just like, yes, we can share this message and we both can elevate, right? We're both serving our audiences. So I just absolutely love that. So, as we move now to March, we have our first eclipse of the year. And the eclipses this year are in Aries and Libra, of course, because that's where the nodes are. So, eclipses in astrology is when a new moon or a full moon comes to sit with one of the nodes of the moon. So, we can have north node eclipses, meaning that we're moving into this wonderful evolutionary future and we're birthing this path forward. And then we can have a south node eclipse, which is what are we letting go of? What are we healing? What are we kind of trying to release into the past? And both are very important and both can highlight things in your chart. It really depends. But we have a full moon eclipse in Libra on March 25th. And so this is going to be a south node eclipse because of Libra being in the south node. So this is a time when full moons are quite potent, right? This is a letting go, a releasing of. So this is going to really highlight relationships and allegiances to where you've sort of said, I can't do this because someone will think badly of me. I don't want to show up my parents. I don't want anyone to be jealous. All the ways that we are trying to smooth out relationships and try to bring balance by giving from ourself, really
Yeah.
letting that go, that allegiance to, making everyone else happy at the expense of your purpose, your mission, your happiness, right?
Oh, so maybe some uncomfortable evaluation, but necessary nonetheless, which you did warn us about at the top. So,
Absolutely. And I always say, when we have a shakeup in relationships, and this can be friendships, this can be partnerships, in terms of romantic relationships, it can also be business partnerships too.
yeah.
And so, where that shakeup comes in, it gives you the opportunity to solidify it and strengthen it, where you can kind of see, oh, these are the cracks, and we're going to shore it up with cement and bring healing to it.
Yeah.
Or it will shake it up to break it apart because it's no longer needed in your life, or it's served its purpose. Its mission is now complete. So,
Yeah.
when those chapters close, and I think we're going to see a lot of relationships ending and divorces, finalizing in 2024 because we can no longer carry that into 2025. There's the
Okay.
mission, the call to us is just too great. There's just things that aren't working are going to be so highlighted that you can no longer look away.
And I
So,
always like to remind people that with relationships, yes, of course, we can have a relationship with another person, but can also be our relationship with money or food or schedule or whatever relationships we have in our lives kind of count under this umbrella. So,
well, if you think about what you just said, those relationships with schedule, money, all the things,
yeah.
they come back to a belief which we brought in from somewhere in our lives that we saw someone else do,
Yeah.
right? So it is
Absolutely.
relationships. We're no longer pledging that allegiance to, I need to give so much time to make everybody happy, or I need to,
Yeah.
because what will happen is the universe will show you in no uncertain terms that this is no longer aligned. And here's an example, but it's not necessarily the example for everyone. I had a client, a grief support client, who her husband died tragically in a car accident, and they had come through turbulent times. They had just come back together again, and then he died. And
Wow.
so she was devastated because this future that she had seen with him was now no longer available. And so she had to move through that grief process. She had a psychologist, and she also had me on the other side of it. And he was so present in her healing. It was so beautiful. And on the other side of it, she realized that number one, she had to leave her job of 20 years because it was so toxic. She
Wow.
also had to cut out some of his family because they were so just take, 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 take. She was the type of person that would do for anyone. If you were in crisis, she'd be on your doorstep, she would make you food, she'd clean your house. And then she realized when her husband passed, nobody came forward to do that for her except
Wow.
her close friends and her daughter. And so she just realized, like, why am I doing all this when nobody actually cares about me when I'm going
Yeah.
through it? So when you're going through the shit, hopefully it's okay to say that word.
You can say any words.
Okay,
Any words you want.
if you're going through the poo, look around to see who leans in
Yeah.
and who is not there for you, and then who do you lean into? Is that reciprocal, right? That's that Aries Libra axis. Are
Yeah.
you in reciprocal relationships? Are you holding up these allegiances because you believed? And she had very much kind of grown up from that because her mom was a single parent and really had sort of become her mom's, consort in essence, to take on all the things that her mom couldn't do. And so she then just took that on, her role on in all of her life.
Yeah.
So it's like, these things are all birthed from childhood. So, this, when we talk about relationships to self, but an allegiance to, money, contracts,
Yeah.
life,
All the
relationships,
things.
where did you learn it?
Yeah.
Right? Because you learned it from someone who modeled it for you, that you believe this is now the way I need to do it. Because
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
children do.
and the other thing too is, I mean, you kind of said this at the beginning as well today. Anything that is becoming released or we're having the opportunity to reevaluate, reimagine, it is setting us up for the next potentials, the next possibilities, the next
Yes.
phase. So nothing is ever, like you were saying with the lady you just mentioned, nothing is ever a total loss. It's always moving us forward to a different place, a place that we, and it's not really optional. We're moving forward either way.
That's
So
right.
we can evaluate these things and work on them, or we can go kicking and screaming, but we're going either way.
And I think, where how far you've come in your healing journey and in your grief as well, is that she was actually got to a place where she was really thankful for these people not showing up, because she was able then to understand the relationship at a better place and
Yeah.
realize it's time to kind of thank them and close that chapter. So can you find the gratitude in what is falling away? Can you be, and sometimes it's hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
especially going through a nasty divorce. And you're like, I have to be grateful to my ex, like, well, at some point you will see that they really met you at the right time. Everything that
Yeah.
came in was perfect. And now it's time for that chapter to close, because the universe is handing you a new opportunity for something else down the road. Don't know what that is yet, but this person served a very profound soul contract, and their soul agreed to come in and help you with that. And again, depending on where you are in your healing, that might be really hard to hear, especially if the person was awful to you and really
Yeah.
hurt you. So there's healing to be done there too, because if you're holding a grudge or you're holding accountability, that's holding something within your body that is now taking up space that could be
Yeah.
used for something else. So it's really up to you. I mean, you can hold that grudge for as long as you want, but actually, what is it serving you, and where is it taking away from energy that you could free up to do things that are really more joyful? Right?
Yeah, and it sounds like it's all part of this reevaluation. That's a central theme of the year, of evaluating, in March when this does come up, however it manifests in each individual's life and world, taking time to do that evaluation and just to be observant is what it sounds like. One of the helpful
Right.
things would be this year. Observe the feelings, observe what's happening in your
Yes.
own space and with your relationships.
Yeah, and even just to take it to your journal as
Yeah.
well, to give it an outlet and a place to be. And so for you to reflect, going, oh, I didn't realize this. Or you might come back to your journal and go, wow, I've come a long way. This doesn't bother me anymore. Sometimes you just need to be acknowledged, and your journal can
Yeah.
do that for you.
It's
So
so synchronistic that you mentioned that, because the last 5 minutes that we've been talking, I've been making a mental note of, just based on what you're saying. Oh yeah, I'm giving everyone journals for holidays and birthdays this year. Everyone's getting journals. Everyone needs
yes.
journals.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And then, so as we move into April 1st, we come into a Mercury retrograde, which is so interesting. It's very close to that full moon eclipse in Libra. So that Mercury retrograde is going to then start out in Aries and move back through the zodiac into, well, this one's going to start in fire sign. So that fire sign is it's going to stay in Aries, and because it's happening at the 27 degrees of Aries. So it's going to be that full bore, like here's that Aries again coming up, right? Mercury, what is your bold vision? Where are you not stepping in? What is your
Yeah.
mission in this life? And that's going to kind of carry through then to the new moon solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th.
And how
So
crazy that that kicks off the second quarter, the second fiscal quarter of the year. So
that's right. So it's also now an eclipse happening at that time. And then so that combined is really going to bring up again relationships. Where do you abdicate authority? What is your bold vision? What is, so wherever Aries is in your chart this year, really going to be highlighted big time. So just paying attention to that part of your chart if you know astrology,
okay,
because
so
it's going to be
everybody
very
look
lit
up
up.
where Aries is in
Aries
your
is in the
chart.
chart.
Everyone has every planet somewhere.
Every sign,
Every
everywhere.
sign
Yep.
has something going
That's
on.
right. Yep. And Aries ruling planet is Mars as well. So when we look to your chart, even look to where Mars is in your chart, and you'll start to see a big picture kind of unfolding. It's like layers, in astrology. So then we move into the next really major aspect of the year, and it's April 20th, and it's going to be Jupiter conjunct Uranus. So we call these great conjunctions in astrology because these slow outer planets, as they come to sit on the same degree, they start to kick off a cycle that's now going to take another year because Jupiter moves around the zodiac. 12 years. This is a new 12-year cycle with Uranus. So Uranus is about technology, jumps forward in evolution. It is erratic and he likes to move fast, and it is breaking up the old. He's got a chaos, right? And change. So this is an evolutionary change. And Jupiter, and this is in Taurus, which is about money, climate, Mother Earth, resources.
Yeah.
So we're going to see, I feel like, new technology come to light about, or new awareness around climate change, about investments in, climate change, just because also be a new currency come to bear as well. It is a time that the markets are slated to not be great. So it would be not a good time, especially during a Mercury retrograde as well, to make any big investment changes or money changes. But at this time, there's kind of this there's going to be a dip in the trading and stock market as well. So I would just say to be very, very, especially into March, move investments into safe places for yourself, especially if you're on retirement age or on pension. It's now a time to be very, very, very safe with your money at this time. And if you have more of an appetite to play the market, then you might want to play things that are around climate, around new energy, solar or wind or new technology coming out that gives us a new energy source. This could be that as well.
That's a
If
great
you're
tip.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a financial planner, so please don't. I am
Yes,
not
of course.
certified in giving financial advice. So be aware of your risk tolerance, but just watch. If you're someone like me, I like to just watch what's happening. I
Yeah.
am fascinated with financial astrology. It's a whole branch of astrology that they use the cycles of the stock market, but then also understanding the technology, the stock itself, and then adding on the astrology at the
Wow.
end. So it's fascinating. It's amazing. I can't. I feel like I want to do it in retirement because I have to dedicate like 4 years to that
You're already setting
certification.
up your retirement
As just
job.
like, yeah. And I heard myself being like, "Are you waiting too long?" And I'm like, I got other missions right now. I'm on another mission at this point in my life. So that Jupiter conjunct Uranus is a big conjunction that's going to be really highlighting again that kind of need for us to move off of these long-term, where we kind of committed to staying the course on something in our life because we have money invested, because we went to
Okay.
university or college for it. Where is that Uranus is going to break this up and Jupiter is going to expand that to you to now say, wait a second, if I moved over here, that investment could still be relevant, or nothing is lost. Everything is shifting. It's all giving me a foundation for something. So it's optimism as well, right? Jupiter's expansion and optimism. So I feel like this is going to be like big. Again, not a good time for the stock market, so don't be doing nothing there. And Earth's resources. I think we're going to hear more about climate change because as we move into 2025, the Earth is going to heat up even more. All that Aries fire energy
Yeah.
is coming, and we need to come together, Aquarius, to really heal this and sort of say, no, we can't be because we're already hearing people, it gets too expensive and that's not
Yeah.
for me, and you're not making this technology readily available. And I feel like this is going to kick off that. There's going to be, I feel like, a summit or something that's going to bring awareness to new technologies and things that are available to us now
I'm
to
excited to see what
elevate.
comes
I am
out.
too. I think it's going to be really good. Yeah, really good. And then Mercury goes direct on April 25th at 15 degrees of Aries. So it's interesting how it's spanning all of that stuff right there, right? It's
Yeah.
bringing us to this reevaluation, reviewing, revising, reassessing. Where do we sit in all of this? Because we're part of the
Yeah.
mixed structure, right? And within us, the structures will fall. So if the structures are going to fall in this planet, we also then have to decommit to them within ourselves too. So
Well, yeah, and make new agreements to kind of get on board with some of these technologies, for
yes.
example.
Or try new, try things like early adopters, right? Like for me, I was an early adopter on AI, which normally I'm not. And I was
Yeah.
just like, let's just
Same.
play and see and sign
Yeah.
up for it. And oh my God, it has been life
Girl, it's
changing.
amazing. I'm like, you can ask
Yes.
it anything.
Yes.
I asked it for some
Anything.
tech support around a cord I
Yes.
needed for streaming.
Oh, I
You could
love
just,
it.
yeah, I'm not normally early on those kind of things either, but if anyone hasn't played with it, I highly recommend.
Yes. And it just, yeah, you can even ask it any question and it'll tell you. I mean, it's like Google
Yeah.
as well. You can use it for so many things. So, yeah, highly recommend. And then we get on May 2nd, we have Pluto goes retrograde at the 2nd degree of Aquarius. So he's going to kind of traverse those degrees of Aquarius back into Capricorn once more and then move forward finally into kind of Aquarius after November. So we'll talk about that on the second half of the
Okay.
year. And then Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th. So this is a big deal because Jupiter's been moving through Taurus, and Taurus again about money, the earth, resources, climate, the way that we commit to long-term structures in our life, and values. Taurus is about values as well. So money and values, those are big
Yeah.
ones. And so for us, looking through, I know for me, because Taurus is also, where Chiron sits in my chart, I've been really noticing the value of things. What do I actually value? And I feel like as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, I value my time freedom and my ability to be with my family when something is happening.
Yeah.
Right. So my youngest made the volleyball team this year. And so being in playoffs right now and, organizing and changing schedules so I could be at every game has been so important because this is the first sports team he's ever made it on. And it's a big deal. So I have been so grateful that I can change my schedule, and financially it doesn't change anything for me.
Yeah.
So that is the beauty of being an entrepreneur. And I had forgotten about that. My schedule was so full at the beginning of this year that I could not move, changing
Yeah.
where do I reschedule them? There's nowhere to reschedule. And so now it's been very interesting as I've tightened up my availability that the way that people access me it's going to be different for 2024. So that's one of the ways that this energy is changing things for me. And Gemini is going to bring up definitely new ideas and inspiration and technology and communication, is that I get to see how other people are doing it. And or some software might come in that will change something for me that I'm so open to. So Jupiter's
Yeah.
going to be in Gemini for a year. And
Okay.
that's the prelude though, because as it moves into Gemini, now we've got Uranus moving into Gemini in 2025, that Pluto moving into Aquarius, that air,
Yeah.
inspiration, ideas, creativity, that intellect is going to be really highlighted. So Jupiter kind of is the opening gate for it, if you will. And that's happening
Okay.
on May 25th. And then just noticing how technology, I feel, is just going to we're just going to leap with new innovations and problems that are going to be solved, and not just
Yeah.
like for making Western life easier. I think it's also as we're seeing everything that's happening right now in the Middle East and in Ukraine and stuff as well, that when countries are hit with war or conflict, we still need to take care of people.
Yeah.
And so the technology to come in to take care of people, that water,
Yeah.
food, technologies to help people, medical aid, things like that. What
Yeah.
can we do in those kinds of situations that makes this accessible to everyone? Right. So I think we're going to see
Yeah.
more of that
Be
too.
interesting to see, like you said, how that all comes together, what we start seeing, what programs are already maybe in the works that we don't, haven't publicly heard about yet. So
And I think
That'll
with
be
that
great.
Aquarian energy is that it's making it available to all, right?
Yeah.
We're really making this technology or this, new way of feeding people as well, as we see more and more climate, uncertainty and
Yeah.
extremes. They say there's going to be parts of our globe that now inhabited will no longer be able to be inhabited. So we still need to feed
Yeah.
people that live there as we start to immigrate or migrate out of those areas, and then also shelter and housing in ways that with more hurricanes, especially at parts
Yeah.
in the US, right? There's so much more sensitivity to big hurricanes and weather events, so
Yeah.
they're trying to shore up housing. What can we do to no more mold or with earthquakes? So I think we're just going to see a lot more those technology with regards, because Taurus is about the earth and about our
Yeah.
foundation and like our house, the things that we call my. So
That's
your
actually
housing.
exciting because I think there can
I
be
think
some
so too.
great. I think there's a lot of things that maybe haven't been addressed for a really long
Right?
time.
Which seems ridiculous. Like we're in
Yes.
2023 and we still have like black boxes in planes that only ping for 30 days. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
what? Are we still lose planes. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand why that 30 days is the limit, right? So it's really interesting when we start to kind of have, especially the young people coming up nowadays. And I
Yeah.
think like your family is kind of in that genre minor, kind of coming up through the teen years now, is that they are thinking of things differently, right? Their
Totally.
astrology is so cool. They are not meant to think of things the way we are. And that's why we're seeing this neurodivergent, age really coming
Yeah.
about, where we're seeing things with our children. They see the world differently, and we're realizing, oh, wait, I do too, but I was never allowed to, right? There was
Yeah.
no such thing as these diagnoses back in the day. And we're going to see more and more of that come up. And I think which is interesting, is kind of the last thing I'll leave here, is that in human design, which is another modality that I also practice, is 2027 is supposed to be a grand mutation that's going to come through the
Interesting.
human population. So there's something big happening in 2027 in human design. And so we're starting to see, when we can see like the North Star or what's coming in the future, we can
Yeah.
start to understand our place in now, right? The place in the timeline as we're birthing those visions. We're on track for that. So this
Yeah.
corridor of 2024, I'm going to say like, buckle up, introspect, flow with the energies, and, realize where your authority is, where your bold vision is, what is your
Yeah.
purpose and mission, because it's going to be so highlighted. I just keep seeing this vision of the universe kind of moving blocks out of the way so that you can start to be in your purpose and your mission, because the world needs you. Like
Yeah.
there's no more waiting. Like it's time now. And so what do we need to create safety around that? Maybe it's a nest egg, maybe it's taking courses, maybe it's meeting people who are doing cool things with their lives that are just like, okay, how do I do that for me? Hacking the system, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, let's go.
I
Let's go.
like it. This is exciting. Well, I mean, and it sounds like you're saying too, of course, we can't know what's to come with that North Star in 2027, which feels like a crazy number to even say.
Right.
But what we can have and do in the meantime, in this quarter period, is be evaluating our own heart, our own beliefs, our own, like you said, what are we prioritizing? What's important to us? What do we wish that we were prioritizing that we weren't? And what's the story we're telling ourselves about why we are shoulding all over ourselves, why we why we should or shouldn't or can't or whatever the case may be.
I love it. Yes. And you're so right. And I think that what 2024 is going to illuminate, I also just got this, heard Spirit say, it's may not be evident to you right now, sitting in
Yeah.
this seat here in 2023 or whenever this podcast finds you, is that it might not be evident. But as you start to traverse 2024 with this adventurous, excited, open mind, and things start to happen and relationships start to fall away, or somebody kind of hands you, a divorce papers or whatever, is that
Yeah.
you're kind of going, wait a second, how is this now playing into my bigger picture? This is now redirecting me to something else. Right. So just having that redirect mindset and that curiosity over the judgment of like, oh, I wonder what this is going to bring up for me, and how is your future change? And, the grief counselor in me is saying there's going to be grief. Because
Totally.
anytime we're letting go of something that we have held as identity, they will be a part of us that might even go down the path of like, oh my God, I wish I'd let go of this sooner. Or who could I
Yeah.
be today if I had let that go a year ago, 2 years ago? And I'll say this to you, and I hope you can hear me, is it's happening in divine, perfect timing. And it's happening now on purpose and in perfect accordance with the universe. So it
Yeah.
could not have happened sooner. So please do not judge yourself. Everything is happening in divine, perfect order, and you are taking the steps as it feels right and aligned for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That's great wisdom and great advice. And it sounds like a lot of potential shifts and changes. And I mean, as we know, there are always going to be unexpected
Yes.
things kind of thrown at us from the side as life just happens and unfolds in its own way. And we get to choose what we do with what happens. So
Absolutely. And I think, that journaling piece is so important. I'm just getting heard Spirit say, is it okay? We still have enough time. I can give
yeah,
a
sure.
framework.
You
So
get all the
when,
time you want. You
oh,
you have no time limit when you're here.
time is a construct, yeah,
Yes.
and it's not for the listeners. What I'll say is a really wonderful journaling introspection kind of framework that I like to use, because I personally just can't journal because something happened. Like I'll just be like regurgitating what I'm feeling on a page. But what
Yeah.
I love is to give my clients a framework to use to then digest the grief. And so the framework that I really love, I actually learned it from a lady named Tara Brock, who is a fantastic psychotherapist in the U.S. She's a Buddhist. She subscribes to the Buddhist, teachings, and she's just such a lovely, gentle soul. And she uses this framework called RAIN, RAIN. So the first part of RAIN is to recognize, and you use a sort of an emotional word wheel. You can just Google emotion word wheel, and you name all the emotions you are feeling, and you just write them all out on a page. And even that step is so powerful because it
Yeah.
helps you to acknowledge how you're feeling. And when you
Yeah.
see it on a page, there's a part of you that feels like acknowledged, right? Which is the next
Yeah.
part. So the A is acknowledge, and you're acknowledging that this part of you belongs, that this part of you that's feeling this way, they get to exist, and they are here. They belong. And so we often will try to make ourselves wrong, like especially those of us who are super positive and optimistic and spiritual, right? We're just like, oh, I'm so no, it's fine. It's everything's happening because for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And you're like, wait, there's a part of you that still feels really sad and really
Yeah.
bummed that this happened, or maybe angry or triggered, right? Whenever you're
Yeah.
feeling out of alignment, you can use this. So the A, you simply just write, this part of me belongs, and I acknowledge this part of me. And I actually even encourage my clients to put a hand on heart and go, I see you, and I'm here. And
Love
I'm
that.
listening to you now. So if think of it as like your inner child, there's a part of you that is feeling upset with what's happening.
Yeah.
Imagine being served with divorce papers. You're going to be upset, and there's going to be a part of you that feels abandoned or feels,
Yeah.
whatever that is that feels for you. Then the I in RAIN is investigate. So you want to investigate, where is this coming from? Why are you feeling this way? And where's the core wound? So let's say with divorce, like I'm so mad, I was trying so hard. This person's not, doing their work on it. I'm committed to this relationship. They're not. I can't believe this would happen. And this reminds me of the times when, or this comes back, I feel abandoned, right? There's a
Yeah.
core wound underneath there. What are you truly feeling? What's the fear? And
Yeah.
where are you feeling it in your body? Because it's also somatic. So where do you feel that in your body? That's going to be really powerful, especially if you know where all the chakras are. You'll
Mm-hmm.
kind of go, oh, I feel in my stomach. I feel like there's a lack of personal power. Or
Yeah.
in my heart, that feels like, no love coming in here from someone else. My heart hurts. And that's often where we feel grief, is in the lungs. We hold grief in the lungs. And then the last one is N, is nourish. So then to nourish yourself in some way that feels really good and affirming to this inner part of you. And I had a brilliant client. She's like, oh, I just wrote myself a letter. And I was like, this is perfect. And every time she would do rain, she'd just write this inner version of her a letter, letting
Yeah.
them know that they're loved, that they're seen, that whatever you're lacking outside of yourself, you now need to give to yourself,
Yeah.
because healing is always within. It's never, you're not at the mercy of someone saying sorry to you, or I can't believe I did that, or you're so right. We give our power away when we give the healing to someone else outside ourselves. So
Absolutely.
we can bring that back to self with the N in nourish. Is like you can just write yourself a little letter, and then just imagine you're talking to a little child and you're trying to give them all the hope and love and safety that they're craving in this moment. What would
Yeah.
you say to them? And then do something loving for this part of you. So maybe if it's your inner child, go play in a park, or go, nourish yourself with a great meal, or
Yeah.
take a bath, or something that makes you feel really good from the inside out. So that lovely framework really can help you digest how you're feeling, acknowledge those parts of you that are not feeling seen, and then bring it to a place of acknowledgement and inner safety, because it always comes from safety. So I
Oh, well,
hope that
thanks for that.
helps.
I think that's an amazing tool for everyone. Get your journals. There's
Yes.
lots of them on sale, and there's always the whatever version of a dollar store you have, or
Yes.
just I tend to use just the composition notebooks that are like 50 cents, and listen back to this, make some notes, and use that technique as we move through a lot of introspection, a lot of potential changes, and whatever doors your corridor holds in this first half of the year, you'll be ready to greet them. I think it's a great tool. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share it. And I think this is like, we need these tools as we're
Yeah.
traversing this corridor year, because it is going to be breaking up, this old stuff, because we can't carry it with us to the new, right? It's almost like trying to move into a different house with all of your old house stuff. Like, it's
Yeah.
not going to work out. So this is a year, as an 8-year sort of suggests, balancing and harmony, but this, contrast with, what do we actually need to move forward,
Yeah.
and what have we been holding on to what we thought we needed. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting, I'm excited for this year. I'm open and so interested as I've looked to my own personal astrology for the year ahead. I've been seeing a lot of clients as they're trying to get their year ahead transits for 2024. So it's something I give in my astrology readings. That way you can kind of look, oh, this is why I'm feeling this way, or oh, this is what's coming up for me. Because your own personal astrology is going to differ a little bit, but these
Yeah.
energies are going to be coming into our lives as a general, population. So
Well, one of
yeah.
the things I love is if someone wants to go deeper and get a reading, it just kind of how you were talking about, oh, this is in this area for me. It just will highlight for the individuals, as which area of their life this might likely show up in, or what
Absolutely.
theme or segment. Is it more going to be career in this month or area? Is it going to be more relationship, or, what we're doing with our life passion, or whatever it is? So it really can get so personal and detailed. That's one of the great things about astrology, I think.
Well, and we're all going through our own cycles, our own
Yeah.
personal cycles. And one of the things I absolutely am fascinated with astrology is it overlaps with the psychology of it as well. So at certain ages, like around the age of 44, between 40 and 44, we have our Uranus opposition. So Uranus comes to oppose itself in our chart in the sky. And we call this the midlife crisis, which I have
Yeah.
rebranded to the midlife breakthrough,
Okay.
because
That's
you are
perfect.
breaking through now. You're like, okay, I'm no longer carrying this stuff with me. And who am I now? And you often will hear this. I often hear this from my girlfriends, but it's not relegated to just girls, where you're like, you hit this age of 40 and you're just like, I just don't care. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care that someone might judge me for this. Like, I'm just going to be who I'm going to be. And it's that Uranus opposition that's coming in. That's like, you don't have time for this, to hold this energy anymore. Your mission ahead requires you to let these things go, and you're so ready now to move into that. Whereas in your 20s, you'd be like, oh my God, I could
Yeah.
never. Right. So I just love astrology for that. You can't make this stuff up. Like,
I know.
it's so exact. It's wild. I just love it.
I know. And it's so great. I mean, I always appreciate you coming in and giving us all the heads up and the juicy tidbits and the tips and what to watch for and some suggestions about
Yes.
when to do things and when to not do things. So it's really fun to kind of take a look at the year ahead. And I think we all want to know, what's coming or what to expect, or, do we need an umbrella for
Yes,
6
you
months?
need an umbrella. And I think, like, I keep hearing from especially clients that are kind of new to this work, is they're like, I'm scared because I don't want to know all the things. And I'm like, don't worry, you're not going to know all the things, because
Yeah, definitely
otherwise,
not.
I mean, that's not what life is about. You're
Yeah.
meant to experience it. And in those experiences, if I had told you, going back to the, divorce experience, if I had told that person that you're going to divorce this person down the road, she may never have married him,
Yeah.
and then had all these experiences and had these children and had all this, this wisdom. This is what our soul signed up for. Is, nothing again is a mistake. Everything is
Yeah.
happening in divine timing. So that piece of, like, to be forewarned is to be forearmed, my teacher
Yeah.
used to say. And remember, life's an adventure, and you get to use this experiences the way that you want to. So I love, Joy, that you said, just be joyful about it. Like, really just be excited and open to the best possible experiences from this,
Yeah.
that really give you good things, really set
Yes.
that intention.
Well, and to your original point, it's all moving us towards our highest and greatest good. There's nothing to be afraid of. Certainly, we experience uncomfortable emotions as part of our human experience, but
Yes.
that's going to be in any year. And this really does sound like it's a year of kind of setting us up in the direction, in the alignment with, the next things that are going to roll out. So,
Well, and whatever is delayed this year will come up in 2025 in a bigger
oh,
way.
yes.
So you can deal with them now, or you can wait, but it'll be like a boulder coming
It's
down
up
the
to you.
mountain. Right.
I feel like
Yep.
all astrologers have that kind of famous, like, oh, it's up to you if you
Yep.
it's gonna keep coming if you get to choose.
It's
So
true. They always say, right, the universe will knock and a little bit quiet, and then there'll be a hard knock, and then the
yeah.
door will break down. So you get
Yes,
to you get to choose your own adventure. You get to choose.
totally.
All right.
Well, I know we are all choosing a wonderful adventure together, at
Yes.
least for the first segment of this year. And I'm excited to see how these predictions roll out. They always seem to come to fruition in one way or another, and usually in more than one way. So thanks again for sharing all of your wisdom and for putting all this together. I really appreciate you shining your light. Will you just rattle off your website and how people can get in touch? And of course, I'll link it in the show notes.
So I'm always available on Instagram. Well, not always available, but I'm on there pretty a lot. And it's Sheetal Story. So just exactly my name is my handle on Instagram, and then my website is sheetalstory.com. So all
Perfect.
of we're going through a huge revamp right now. I realize it's kind of been a accumulation of all the things that I've been offering over the years, and I realize it's a little out to date. So you might notice that some things are moving around from the times that you check through it. But if anything, you ever have any questions, or you just want to know, or you don't see availability in my calendar, just message me. You can DM me on Instagram or message me through my website. I'm usually back to people within 24 hours. So
Well, hey, and I love that your website's changing. It means you're doing your own work and
that's
you're
right.
reevaluating things for yourself. So this gal
Mercury
practices
retrograde.
what she preaches. Yeah.
The end of the year, that's what I'm doing.
Get it, girl. Well, as always, thank you so much for sharing yourself with us.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you for having me. And I can't
Of
wait to talk
course.
about the last 6 months of the year later
I
down
know we will see
2024
you
road.
again.
Thank
It
you.
feels like it's going to be before we know it, but
It's true. Always is.
oh, thanks. Wow. As always, such an in-depth, huge amount of information, of themes, of what we can expect for 2024 as we really just move into that energy, into that time period. I'm excited for this corridor, and I'm excited to see how everyone's doors down their long hallway of the year present. But really, taking some notes from Sheetal, using that rain journaling technique that she mentioned. Get yourself a journal or a notebook for the year. Like I said, I'm probably going to be giving a lot of those out as gifts this year based on Sheetal's guidance and what she said. I love her little heads up about, perhaps not investing during certain times of the year, when we will really be able to harness that energy to reevaluate, but getting in tune and in touch with what you really want to be doing going forward, what you really value, what is important to you personally to prioritize, not so much all the shoulds of the world, but what really is meaningful to you. So I will definitely be re-listening to this episode many times throughout the first 6 months of the year. Of course, I will link all of Sheetal's contact points in the show notes. Again, she mentioned that she does the weekly astrology report and gives heads up on the potentials and energy coming. If you are not already watching those, I highly recommend it. Again, I'll drop all of her social media points, her website, her contact points in the show notes. She is a fantastic teacher, medium, astrologer, grief counselor, and just an incredible, beautiful soul. And I am so grateful to her for being here, sharing all of this wisdom with us. And I'm so grateful to you for being here and listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would love it if you would subscribe. And I would also love it if you would share this episode with a friend who also maybe is a little bit woo-woo or borderline woo and wants to know the energies, the potentials. And it's so fun to look back at Sheetal's episodes because we can evaluate and see what themes came to light and how they manifested in either world events or personal events in our lives. Usually both happen. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing this time with me. Remember, Spirit Speakeasy hotline is now available. So call me and tell me your story of a sign that you received from a loved one in the spirit world, or even a sign from the universe that was very synchronistic for you. You can call me at 305-928-5683. That's 305-928-LOVE, LOVE, 305-928-5683. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye for now from inside Spirit Speakeasy.